welcome Ashley to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Obviously, this is special for me, being in our community and talking with a close personal friend. I don't know. I feel like we can just talk completely freely, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and as we do often in your sauna, we're at Ashley's house right now, and there's been many sessions in the sauna with the fascia blasters.
Many breakout sessions that alien technology, time travel, all the things.
We'll get into all of it. It's so good. But something that I actually don't know about your story, which I'm curious about, because your legacy is obviously in fascia, and what you've created is so massive. And I'm curious how you initially started into fascia, because I know you had an injury, but our listeners might not know that. But how did that start? Like, how did it become? How did Ashley Black turn into this queen of fascia?
I mean, for me, there's a very clear incident, and it was after the birth of my daughter. She's 26 now, so that kind of gives you the time frame. And I had a near-death experience. I remember all of it. It was like a really good trip, basically. And, I was given a purpose at that point. I wanted to cross over, and the voices were saying, go back. And I vividly remember hearing that I had something very important to do and that I would be given the knowledge when the time was right. And so you and I know, we've talked about it before, there's been many times that I've been able to receive downloads over the past 26 years. But the first time that I remember being, I just tuned into whatever that was. I was trying to heal the injury. The near-death experience came from a bone infection that spread to my spinal and cerebral fluid and caused a stroke. So I lost a big chunk of my leg and my hip and my pelvis, which you hear me clicking as I'm walking with my surfboard. It's been a lifelong thing I've had to manage. But I was basically kicked to the curb by traditional medicine and even alternative medicine. Nobody knew what to do with me. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go. I want to see what's in this hip. How could I strengthen it? What could I possibly do? Because I was an athlete. The backstory to that is that I went to the Junior Olympics and gymnastics, and I had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So I had this basis of how to kind of overcome. But when I had my first moment was when I looked inside a human body for the first time. It was the first time I heard the word fascia. And they cut it open, and we're just going to remove the fascia so that we can basically study these structures. I remember looking at it and just being, you're going to remove it? It's the whole thing. And for me, whatever your beliefs are, I definitely feel tapped into a greater consciousness or God consciousness. And he didn't put all this stuff in here for nothing.
Yeah, it's not random.
It is not random. And it was this voracious, I don't know, Ryan, have you ever had something where you started to study it and it was just a rabbit hole that became a rabbit hole that became a rabbit hole, and it was like every single thing clicked? And that's how fascia was for me going back, 26, 25 years. And I've been in that Alice in Wonderland ever since. So that was the original fascination. If I could learn how to stabilize this stuff, then maybe I could do something for my hip.
Gotcha. So, yeah, because you told me about the near-death experience before, which is an incredible story, and we can get into
that's
that.
A whole nother
That's like near-death experiences are
I'm so
amazing.
Fascinated with that, too.
It's cool.
And you attract people that have had them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
And, how these little codes came through in your dream states, and that's what created the work that you do today. But you said you got an experience of opening up a body. How did that even come to be? Like, most people don't have that experience of seeing a body open up.
Well, I will tell you, I'm not overly proud of some of the things that I've done. It's amazing. Different chiropractic colleges and things like that'll let you register for courses when you're not actually a student there.
Yeah.
No, I felt for me, and I always say this because people are, well, what is your degree? What is this and that? And it's like, nothing. I'm self-taught. I'm a curious person. And I feel like education, if I want to learn it, it should be available to me, And so that was kind of my attitude with this whole thing. At one point, I went to China, and I was having papers translated and taking classes there, So I've never felt any of these, Chinese medicine or even med school type courses were something that weren't available to me. So
you're like the best example of an autodidact at the highest level, a self-learner, which is like a self-taught person who's like, oh, I'm interested in that. Let me go deep into that wisdom and find it out. And then let me pull a little bit of that and then go here. And I see you.
And also
lead
you
with
find
that.
the people. I mean, it's if you tap into your own intuition and you trust your own intuition, it's like those movies with the kids where there's a stone in front of them and then they jump on that one and then they're like, and then as soon as they jump, that next stone arrives. And that's really been what's happened. I pray over it, I manifest it, show me the way, and it really does just arrive,
Can you simplify what fascia is? Because I know we're going to get into a lot of fascia things and just break it down in the most simplistic way of what is fascia.
Well, I think that it's really easy to understand it if you just sort of stick to what it is in the physical world. And then we can talk a little bit about what it does, right? So the physical structure, I think I like the word connective tissue because in a sense, it literally connects everything within the human body, and my personal opinion, outside of the human body. But it's a network of collagen fibers. So a lot of fascia kind of looks like hair inside the muscle. Anybody who has ever caught a fish or eaten meat, when we start to pull the muscle apart and we see all of that kind of hair-like white stuff, that is the fascia. But the way that I describe it, and I think it makes it so simple. If my entire body were Jell-O, right? When we work with Jell-O, we can put fruit in it, and we can put a ball of string in it. We can put anything we want, and then the Jell-O is going to go into all of those little spaces. And so fascia, aside from being like hair, it can also be very gelatinous. It can be liquid, and it can be very, very stiff. So if you understand the states of fascia, and then you kind of create that Jell-O mold body, and it's, okay, let's stick the lymphatic system inside of this fascia. Let's stick the circulatory system. Let's have fascia surround every single muscle fiber. Then you start to develop this like, oh, okay, it's really, when we say everywhere, it's literally everywhere.
Yeah, you've really helped me understand the actually spectrum of fascia and how different it can be. You have these studies that are online on your website, and you can see.
Well, it's
the
so funny.
timeline
One of the
it.
things, Ryan, that I discovered, and I really, even doctors now we need to rewrite anatomy, because when they found something, they would just be, oh, that's arachnoid matter. Okay, so it's matter that looks like spider webs. Okay, or it's dura matter, or it's gray matter, or it's connective tissue this, aponeurosis that. So it's kind of one of the things, if you're going to study fascia, the first thing you have to understand is all the code words. Anytime you see the word sheath, membrane, these are all just code words for fascia. And so that's been kind of fun for me to peel that back. And when I'm educating doctors or people who already know anatomy, as soon as they're, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense now, because they totally already understood the function of the thing. They just didn't know that was fascia. I have a funny blog that's the whole scientific theory, and if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, that's a fucking duck. And that's the way that I feel when I'm talking about the anatomy. Why did we look at this one massive structure and call it 100 different things? It was obviously because we did not understand it at the time of invention of anatomy.
And isn't the research pretty recent? Because I heard there was like the first actual study into fascia was like 2013 or something like that, where they started
you're
to
opening up. Ryan, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I have always been fascinated with Leonardo da Vinci.
Yes.
And he was the first person to draw it. And
Really?
Yes, and so we're talking about late 14, early 1500s. I personally believe that it's been suppressed. And I think that people, I even experienced some of that, but I think that people have tried to come out with its significance, and it's being studied in these little silos. But, I've seen research that never really made it mainstream that goes way, way back. There's some pioneers even in this generation. John Barnes. It's so crazy. I'm always, where did John Barnes go? He's the one, actually, when people talk about myofascial tissue, that's a trademark term, or at least it used to be. That was his thing, was myofascial release. And if you go and read his website, he's talking about the spiritual side. I really do believe, because I've experienced it myself, that people have been, oh my God, this is the greatest discovery of all time. And then people suppress them or you're crazy. And then they're like, you know what? Whatever. Like, I'm good. Or they just kind of quietly have their app and go about their thing. But I will say, in my, I've been in the game 25 years. This year, I'm going to be one of the featured speakers at the Global Fascia Congress. And it'll be the first time that somebody who's had some sort of, success in mainstream is even lecturing there. And I will tell you that the Fascia Congress is very excited about that. And they're very excited to see the mainstream meet the science. But as far as science on fascia, it's few and far between. And I will tell you why. Because I spent $2 million of my own retirement to fund my own study. There's, the way studies usually get funded, is so that someone can prove something, so that they can monetize something, and fascia is something that we can, manipulate ourselves, heal ourselves. So there's just not going to be people signing up for that until the world starts to call for it. And so for me, that's where I'm focused. If I can get 10 million people to be, we need to research this for Alzheimer's, or if I can get 20 million people to be, we need to use this for arthritis, then I think we'll get there. But it's a rowboat to China.
Well, what I appreciate about you, like fascia, you're connected and you're kind of a bridge to different paradigms, to kind of high-level business, high-level impact, but you're here in the jungles of Costa Rica in a blue zone, and you're living, you're practicing what you preach. You bridge these experiences of spirit into science, into mainstream, which is pretty damn cool and really rare. So it's amazing the work that you do, and yeah, deep congratulations to what you're about to go into in July. It's weird
because I do feel I have this one leg over here, and I couldn't be more mainstream, right? Even today, I'm setting up a meeting with NASDAQ, and it's like, that's weird. But, I think for me, because mine has always been mission driven, and it's always been my own body that has sort of been the original petri dish for all of this. You're talking about when I started 30, basically, and now I'm 53. And all the things that I've been through in my life have led me to this magical place, Costa Rica. But I'm living it. I'm living the biohacking. The interest that I have now is so different than when I originally started. I think when I originally started and I treated tons of pro athletes for 10 years and then went to celebrities and that, for me, if you put a tool in the hand of a pro athlete, they just take off and they go do it, and that's it. For me, I'm much more interested in things that relate to neuroplasticity or plasticity of anything, because that is the fascia. And then I'm just so stoked about the spiritual connection sort of side of it. I've actually trained shamans and have used the tools in ceremony, and I think it's just like nitrox on what a lot of us are trying to do down here, which is to ascend into a higher consciousness. So that's really what it's about for me at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and I want to get into all that, but I'm curious first about those studies that you ran, because I want the listeners to know more about that, because you did these studies and you actually got them published out of your own pocket and found out some very interesting things that I think kind of catalyze your mission.
So that study was super mainstream, and I was really aware going into it. It was actually, you need to be open-minded. True research says it's a full send, right? Send it, and whatever the information is what it is. So, I definitely put my ass on the line to, what if fascia blasting aggressively attacks the kidneys or something like that? But I wanted to know. And I wanted to know what was actually happening to the fascia. And so at the time, this study was done around 2016-ish and published in 2018 in Cogent, which is a European medical journal. But I wanted to see it, right? So the technology that's best for that at this moment is ultrasound. So we did ultrasounds. I also wanted to see fat distribution, so we did DEXA scans, which that was right when DEXA came out. And then we did just tons of blood. And then we did some metabolic testing, right? Blood will tell you a lot as well. So we wanted to see if we basically did a very aggressive session, kind of what would be the max someone would do to themselves. So we had 2 of our trained therapists work on one person aggressively for an hour. So you're looking at 2 hours of basically being blasted. And then we did all of their blood panel and all that ultrasound and everything just before and just after. So we did get to see what happened immediately. And then we did 30, 60, and 90 days with them doing a protocol after that first session on themselves, 3 to 5 days for 20 minutes. And the things that we found, it was just all good. It was literally all good. So just to run through some major things. I went to write a blog. I wanted to see, were we reducing inflammation better than Advil? Okay, well, it turns out Advil doesn't even reduce inflammation. When we talk about systemic inflammation, there are very few things that actually reduce systemic inflammation. This reduced systemic inflammation, and the chart went like this. So within the first 7 days, that C-reactive protein came really, really down. And I believe that low-level inflammation, that's just kind of the chupacabra of the body, right? Yeah. And it sets off problems with hormones, it sets off problems with gut microbiome, it inflames the Okay, so if that's all it did, that'd be amazing. And then we looked at some longevity hormones like irisin. So prior to my study, the only thing in blood at that time, I don't know now, that increased the exercise hormone, which is directly correlated to telomere length, was HIIT training. But these people saw it with fascia blasting. So it doesn't matter what someone's opinion is. The data is the data, right? And then I think the thing that was, 2 myths that we sort of busted with the study was looking at the actual ultrasound images. And so even me, I kind of thought it was like a hair knot, right? And then the tools were sort of brushing it. But when we saw the ultrasounds, I even remember looking at it 30 days, me and the other researchers were like, are we fucking seeing this? Like, are we really seeing this? Because there's this other factor that you and I have talked about before with fascia, and what I believe, I'm going to give you what I know and what I don't know. So my theory is that just like a spider, he knows how to make a perfect web. And our bodies, our ancestors, with all the things without the disruption of modern life, I think we grew perfect fascia. And it would regenerate, and it would stay supple, and it would stay symmetrical, and all the things that makes it amazing, okay? And by the way, on ultrasounds after the 90 days, this is what it looked like. But when we disrupt a spider with caffeine and LSD, I don't know if you've seen it, maybe we can throw in the B-roll. It's like the cobweb is all crazy. So I think that's what's happening, is that at a very primordial level, we are growing a bizarre cobweb inside of our body. But something about fascia blasting, could hands do it? Maybe. Could tapping do it? Maybe. We don't know because nobody else has studied it. So that's, until someone else shows me the images, then I'm going to stay with fascia blasting because I know that for sure. But what we saw from day 1 to day 90 in every single person, and there were 36 participants, was kind of that crazy cobweb, and then it remodeled. And it was in places from the skin to the bone. So these tools don't reach the bone. So something kind of magical happens when we palpate the fascia tissue in this way.
And it's very different than, obviously, massage gun, foam roller. I heard you talk about these things and how it's really differential and how it interacts with the fascia versus smashing it.
Right.
It kind of moves.
Right. Well, it's so interesting, Ryan, because now we know so much more. So God bless this woman, Carla Stecca. She's like an Ashley, but with a bunch of PhDs in Italy. And So when we really think about, ultimately, it's not about getting a knot out. I'm always, what's the best? And I know you're that way too. Even in blood, don't give me the range. I want to be the 25-year-old and then be the pro athlete, right? So when we talk about having fascia be its best, right? The best it could be is that perfect spider web. And the only way that that beautiful, perfect thing happens is, so far, what we know, the fascia blaster. And what she discovered is that in order to remodel the tissue, we have a new cell. It came out, there was a big announcement, 2018. Hey, everybody, it's not the fibroblast by itself. Everybody thought that we remodeled tissue through the fibroblast. But the hyaluronic acid piece actually comes from this new cell called the fasciocyte. And so now it's this big thing to try to get it, into the textbooks, that we have these different types of, this is everybody, by the way, that does any type of cellular beauty or cellular, well, that's going in a different direction, but just cellular studies, right? So the way that a fibroblast is excited to proliferate is through load and through stretch, okay? So when we think about an elbow to the butt, that's load. And if you do this really deep, you can kind of see this fascia stretching. So you're getting that. But the hyaluronic acid comes from shear. And so shear is kind of this, And so when I saw that study come out, I was like, that's why the fascia blaster works. That's why it sets off the proliferation of all of it, is because when you use one of my tools and you push, you get the load. When you go in one direction, it's stretching. But what's missing from foam rolling and banging, let's just stop doing that, is that the claws, or these appendages on the fascia blasters, actually go in between the fibers and shear. So that is my very best guess of why this is working so good. So if somebody were a fascia therapist or a fascia movement therapist or something out there, can you stretch it some other way? Yes. Can you wake it up some other way? Yes. Can you train it, strengthen it some other way? Yes. But if you want to regenerate it, you need load, stretch, and shear. That's what the science says.
Wow.
I know, it makes you want to be
I know.
Load, stretch.
So we were just doing this before. We were doing this pulling method, and I'm like, wow, I don't think I've actually ever pulled the skin and kind of moved it on my body ever.
Yeah.
I'm pinching myself. Like, okay,
It's so funny in my book. It's a book about cellulite. That was just the mainstream thing at the time. But we have the pinch, poke, pull, and posture, or something like that. But that is one of the things your viewers right this minute, if they want to see how good their fascia is, and you have good fascia, it should
Thank you.
come up like a Shar-Pei. And if you feel it in different spots, you get up here to these surfer shoulders, and it's like a chunk instead of being able to pull up. And that tells you that's a place where your fascia is sort of glued down. So most likely there's either an adhesion or you have a lack of hyaluronic acid to have that glide. And you could do that anywhere on your body. Every single piece we should Shar-Pei.
I can imagine for me, low back has been the issue in the past. But you just mentioned surf shoulder. And so that's from overuse in a way. That's a high use kind of area.
Yeah.
But then there's also low use areas. So if we're stagnant, we stagnate, the fascia
that
also
can happen
hardens
as well.
up, right?
Exactly.
So it'd be either high use or lack of use.
Right. Or just kind of improper use.
Yeah. Not
one
posturing
thing
right.
fascia absolutely hates is crappy mechanics. So let's just, people will be like, oh, my ankle turns out. And it's like, we want to fix that, because when we are inefficiently moving, fascia, this is the other side of fascia, is how does it function? It is the primary sensory organ for the body, right? So if our foot is turned out, the fascia's like, that ain't good. Let me throw off the entire balance to compensate, like a Jenga puzzle.
Yeah. This is why injuries always tend to not be the actual point of the issue. The injury happens up the chain, up the back, but it's the hamstring connected to the ankle, and it's all this interconnectedness.
Well, that's why I love fascia blasting as a practice, because it is. Sometimes I'll be blasting my body and nothing even hurts. And the other day I got down here and just randomly, it was so sensitive I could barely touch it. And it's okay, so is that actually some root cause of a muscle imbalance, or did maybe I was doing my deadlifts and my hip didn't want to do it, so this compensated or whatever, because we cannot just treat the things. The fascia is a quantum system, and you and I talk about this because you're a good student and a good customer user, but it is a full body practice.
Yeah. And at the least, somebody doing it gets to connect to each point of their body, which is something that we talked about, that people don't know their body.
They don't explore.
People don't actually go to the points and find and explore and get curious about their own being. There's so many people that haven't touched certain parts of their bodies, let alone intimately, and connected to them. Oh, how does it feel? What is that like? And so just that self-exploration.
And having some sort of understanding.
Yes.
People will be like, is that normal? I'm like, no, it's not. Like, if you are feeling down your leg, for instance, and you feel dunk, like the Costa Rica roads, or something that feels so sensitive that you can't touch, or all of a sudden there's a hole, or all of a sudden it's so tight that it no longer parts the way for your finger to go through. No, that's not normal. Healthy tissue is soft. And it does not have, one of the things you can feel really well with the tools is, we call it gravel, but it does, as it starts to open, we start to feel these micro adhesions that feel like the bottom of a fish tank, and it kind of is, and nobody knows that. I mean, nobody's, oh, I hurt here. But what I will tell you is the fascia is what feeds the cells, and it's what allows the cells to communicate with each other and the rest of the body, right? And so when we have this is micro deaths of the fascia and micro deaths of those cells. So we are suboptimal when we have that.
So this interconnection of all of it, this blew me away when you told me about this, because first I got the tool and I was like, okay, I'm going to do every part of my body. And I'm like, oh, I can't keep up with doing every part of my body every day. There's ways to section it off and everything that you talk about. But you told me this, and I would love for you to explain it more, that if you get one place, it's not just getting that place, because your fascia is all interconnected. Right. So you can do it in a portion of your body and not have to do the totality of your being, but it's going to affect the fascia through the whole system.
Right.
Like, how does that work?
Oh my gosh, amazing. Ryan, I wish we would have done a little branch off study, because we only let them blast their legs, and we only looked at the legs. But what I will tell you is what all the current energetic research that's coming out around fascia, and the pioneers that are just coming up with new theories and kind of old theories and starting to actually have that conversation, is that the fascia is a communication system. And it kind of used to be, not when I first started, but about 10 years ago, everybody was talking about how it was the speed of light. Well, in the speed of light inside of your body, that's pretty damn fast. It's faster than nerves, and probably more important than nerves. And it's a communication, again, it's a sensory organ. So if we're doing something relaxing on the leg or making a change on the leg, then that's going to signal to this quantum system, which is what the new research is saying, is that it really is, because we come from a single cell. You know how when we look at quantum physics, it's like spooky action at a distance, and it happens at the same time simultaneously. So that's what I believe, and I think the science is eventually going to prove it. That'd be very hard to, we need, what is it called with, not Stern, where they're studying, oh gosh, it'll come to me. But where it's that big lab where they're studying protons, and there's
particle physicists. Doing in the to get black matter and all.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, what we're saying is we want to look at that inside the body. This is not something that would be easy to do. But what I think we can do is call it, again, like a duck, that it's a quantum system, and whatever the quantum physicists are learning and discovering, that is going to be sort of the theory of one, or moving us back to the theory of one with this quantum part of our body. I would love to know if we could fascia blast our leg and remodel the tissue of our arm. I can tell you I don't know, but I can tell you that it does work at some levels that we don't understand. This is unofficial information. We haven't published it or anything like that, but we had 10 people this years ago with multiple sclerosis, and multiple sclerosis is diagnosed by lesions on the brain. it's not lesions on the brain, it's lesions in the fascia of the brain, adhesions, okay? And so we gave them a protocol to basically use the fascia blasters on their head, neck, shoulders, arms, basically from here up, and every single one of them, it remodeled. But that's below the cranium. Okay, so the question is, how far can we get spooky action at a distance? Yeah, I don't know. I know for me, I'm kind of one of those when in doubt, blast it out. So like, I'll do the knee thing, I'll do the shoulder thing, and then I'll hit my whole body. But yeah, that's going to be something that the future research is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, this is what makes me so excited about like Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and what he's doing, and about how he's doing this over and over and over again in his retreats and in his experiences and the studies that he can do, but how, matter doesn't create energy. Energy creates matter.
Yes.
And this is what you're talking about. When you say the speed of light, I'm like, yeah, it's literally energy emitting matter. And the energy is actually the essence that emits.
That's right. It's just like Joe Dispenza says, I forget his wording, but it's something like, raises the body. No, it's like a new mind raises you to a new body. And then, we regenerate our whole body in 7 years. And I can tell you, I feel I'm living proof of that.
Well, your biological age
is... What was it? I don't even.
It was in the 20s.
It was in the 20s.
Yeah, like
yeah, and I'm 53.
26.
I will take that. Holla.
I know. And I'm 16, so we're down there.
No, I want to have it tested again.
Yeah.
It's like, and I do all the things, but I do think fascia blasting is one of the main things. For me, if I had to, I'd say mental health for me is number one. I'm going to say food and exercise, and then fascia care. That's your longevity formula.
Yeah. And I would say that, the fascia care does go into mental health, right? Because if you feel good, your thoughts will also move with that. And
gosh, Ryan, I've learned so much from you just about before I moved here and started getting into the woo-woo world over there. I didn't know much about somatic practices, and I'd never heard those words, those terms, or, the psychedelic breathing. And I'm like, fascia blasting is one of these practices.
Yeah.
And it does calm the nervous system, and it does send signals in the brain, so it's amazing seeing now other professionals that are adopting it to, like I said, ceremony, to mental health, breathing practices, to, basically all types of mental care.
Yeah, it's a perfect bridge, because the somatics that I've been doing and, working with somatic breath work, working with somatic movement, working with these things, you'll get these energetic charges and things that occur. You'll have these convulsions of energy, and you can move them through interacting with them, and it'll be an emotional experience. It doesn't make sense necessarily. They're not thinking a thing, but the body will move it. And this is where my theory always came in of the body is the subconscious, and the body holds the experiences, right? The memories, the trauma we have is not necessarily in the brain. I feel the body is the subconscious, and we hold the traumas, like The Body Keeps the Score, a beautiful book that was about somatics and kind of the launch pad for it, but how it is the subconscious experiences in the body. Something I've heard you say.
Where in the body?
I know.
Right.
But what I've heard you say is that the fascia is consciousness. And that was even a bigger awakening for me, because like the subconscious, okay, not anything that we're necessarily aware of. We just hold these patterns. But you say,
what I think, is we gotta all get together, right? We gotta all get together and start to form some theories. And I love being kind of on the fringe of being a scientist, because I just function as if it's true. It doesn't matter if it's true. Eventually it'll be proven. If it's true for me, then it's true, right? So I function as if fascia is the system that holds consciousness. And I'll tell you why I think that. I think two things. I think there's been a lot of study around water, and there's a lot of study around exotic states of matter like liquid crystals. And what we know about fascia is that it is water lined, like the fascial tubules are lined with liquid crystal. So for me, I literally go straight to time travel and all of that. But what I really believe is that out in the universe and in the mycelium and in our body, that this is all sort of one connective thing. So when I think of connective tissue, I used to think of it inside the body. Now I think of it as our full-on connection to, let's just call it the quantum field, right? So that's part of why I think it's so important for traumas, memories, and energetics, and we can go all the way back to conception and talk about that if you want. But it's the most logical place. Why would we think it would be in meat? The meat of our body. It's not in the meat of our body. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So I think it's that liquid crystal nature is what makes that, what holds our trauma, what releases trauma. I know for us, when somebody's not doing a somatic practice, they're just laying there and we're fascia blasting them. We're having this. We're having people scream. We're having the convulsions. We're having the leg shaking and all of that. And that's someone else doing it to you. So for me, I'm like, let's put that together. Let's put those practices together. And then the other huge piece of why I believe that there's a high likelihood that fascia is consciousness, and I'm saying it in a very sort of rudimentary way, is that when we are, so nobody even really looked at fascia when it was alive until 2014. And this amazing French doctor, Giamberto, took a live person and went strolling underneath the skin. That's the name of the video. And everybody was, oh, what's that? We've never seen that. We've never seen how it behaves. We've never seen how it morphs. It physically morphs. We don't think of our body as being able to change on a dime, and that's what we see right below the skin. And then when we are anesthetized, the fascia just goes from these tubules to flat because we're unconscious. And then when we come out of anesthesia, guess what? They're back again. And then this opened up a whole new world for me, because there was a brilliant scientist that started looking at microtubules long time ago and talking about it being consciousness. But again, this goes back to, what's a microtubule? Fucking fascia. It's fascia. It is the fascia of the cell that takes the information in and out. So one major thing for me that came from a download, and I shared with you, and we were all just like, is that even I would say that it surrounds the cells. But if you look at the mitochondria, it's floating in mitochondria matrix, which is fascia. And all those tubules and fibules and all the things that we learned in 8th grade biology, those are fascia in and out of the cells. So I think if we want to understand cancer, I think if we want to understand Alzheimer's, if we want to understand true anti-aging, we need to understand the information going in and out of that cell through the fascia. Right?
So good.
Right?
Yeah, and it brings me back to, this was a conversation that we had, sauna combo.
I should do my own podcast that's like sauna stories.
Yeah, seriously. About, why, when, if you look back to our primitive times, do you feel like there wasn't issues with fascia and maybe things were a different way, and we had connectedness to the body, like you're saying, this charge in this natural rhythm? I mean, there's practical things like grounding, movement being medicine is a whole other, paradigm of this, because if you're moving it, it's alive. This is why static dance feels so good.
Yeah.
We're actually allowing the fascia to move, breathe, and expand.
Yeah. And glide and,
And flow. But why else do you feel like in older times, in primitive times, do you feel like we had this healthier fascia, and now it's stagnating? Now most people have issues with their back or with their knees or ankles or things based on the way we're living.
Yeah, I mean, you know how passionate I am about this. I love all the modern biohacking stuff, but really true longevity and true health comes from doing it the way a human animal is. And my New Year program every year is about becoming that human animal. It's a theory, it's a guess, but I think I'm right, that if we went back, and I'm talking 400 years, right? Really before we started gathering in any kind of cities, where people were living the same way, this jungle cat out here is, right? How did we get our food? How did we spend our day? And I feel there is we should be taking care of our body as if it were an animal. What did God put on the planet for us to eat? What temperatures did he give us? How much sunlight? What parts of the years? What was the movement that was required? And I think the closer we could get back to that, the healthier that we would be. I would be willing to bet that the people did not have fascia problems, because fascia, number one, loves heat, and I think that we used to be able to withstand much more temperature grade. And we also, here, right down here in Osteonel. You know, these guys are out there all day in the heat. The movement that we used to do, the food we used to eat. You know, nobody was sucking up smelly candles or, you know, everything from the deodorant to the air to the plastics, all of it. I think that comes in to the fascia. Fascia is the primary sensory organ. It says, what the fuck is this? And it's like, let me compensate in some kind of way. So I literally think it's everything.
Yeah. And some of the best movers I know, Ido Portal is one of those movers that he redefines what it is to do a workout. And it's like, it's all day. It's not an hour at the gym.
That's
it's not a 2-hour, session. It's not going for a run. It's like, is your day focused around movement,
Right.
not focused around stagnancy?
Yeah.
So allowing yourself to move with the day and have that integrated to your day. I think Ido Portal's workouts are 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because he's constantly in motion.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, I mean, that's how we used to move. That's how we were. This is very new.
And also out in the sun. You know, it's so funny to me that everybody's, let me get this $100,000 red light.
The infrared
and it's
panels.
Like, okay, well, just go out in the sun. It's full spectrum infrared, so it's like the modern stuff is trying to mimic, or all the cool stuff that we have access to, metal detox and, enemas and just all of that type of stuff. I mean, that's what it's trying to do, is strip us back to being the human animal. I mean, I really believe, I think the Bible's real. I think people were living to be 200 whatever years old, and I think we're the ones that are screwing it up. I mean, and it's crazy for me. In the beginning, we were talking a little bit about being in the Matrix, and I do have to travel. The first thing that happens to me, first meal, I get a stomach ache when I get on the plane. I'm like, this chicken is plastic, and then you get in the smog, and then just people being rude and those lower vibrations and, all of that stuff. It really, once you've gone a little more clean, you're very sensitive to that stuff. And it's, whoa, we are really off base.
Well, that's a good segue into, because I'm a traveler myself, and there are biohacking things I do. I wear the yellow light glasses. I have the grounding mats when I'm working in the office and the panels. I put the panel on my balls sometimes because I need to get the sun there. And it's like I do the biohacking things. Even the mat in my bed is a grounding mat, a sheet of grounding mat that you plug into the grounding port. But when traveling, like if you could frame it as like fascia freedom while like traveling and while working, and what are some insights you would give people? And like, what do you do yourself when you're moving, traveling, or have to sit on a plane for 15 hours or in an office, or you have these calls
I
and
think,
things.
leaving the ground is really bad. We get out of that.
Not natural.
It is not natural. But I have grounding flip-flops, which is kind of interesting, and I do wear those. I go out of my way to hydrate. That's where I bust out the coconuts, the watermelon juice, the sea moss, all the things. But literally the day before. I'm talking about just to prepare for the flight. But also, I really do. I have like a whole routine that I do in the sauna, mainly opening up the anterior fascia chain with stretching and fascia blasting of the hips and all of that, just to prepare your body to be in this position for all those hours. I'm the annoying person that gets up 100 times, goes from my first class seat to the back bathroom, hangs out back there, does little, we need to constantly be moving. And then, it's a real consciousness thing for me to make sure that the hotels that I'm staying at are either in the building or close to the building, where I have access to sauna, where I have access to a really good gym. I pre-schedule my body work, massages. To me, it is not a luxury. That is just how do I take care of myself, And I really, really believe, even before meetings, which sometimes require so much brain activity, I'm blasting my head, I'm waking up my oxygen, to the brain, I'm cold plunging my face, So I think you try to do everything you can, but I was challenged the other day. Somebody was like, would you ever leave Costa Rica? And I was not, unless I could find another place just like it. Because even when I'm doing all of that and I'm about to go on the road for a solid month, and I mean bouncing around New York, Miami, China, Singapore, back, I'm gonna really be in the air and doing some crazy things, and also changing my circadian rhythm, which I hate to do that. It just like pisses me off. But I always am okay, then I need to go home and recover for 2 weeks. And then I got to go do it again for 2 weeks. And then I want to come home for 2 weeks. I feel like I can reset here. But I do want to touch on one of the things that makes this place so special for me is my community here.
Yeah.
It's coming back and being able, almost the movie Avatar when they're all around the tree and they hook up. I need that as well. So I would encourage all of our viewers, to, try to create community either when you travel or duck back home and get in that community, as well as all of the biohacking things, because at the end of the day, it's all vibration. We want all the highest vibrational things, and that's what Schulman resonance gives us. That's what hyperbaric oxygen gives. That's what a good conversation gives us. That's what a nice hug, red light on the balls.
Seriously.
These are high vibrational things.
Yeah, this is why I talk about community so much, and why the whole mission is community centric, right? It's social wellness. It's doing things together that make us well. And sociogenomics, I'll mention it again. It's the study of the people we spend time with shift our gene expression. Literally, 3 times more than our family shifts our gene expression. Epigenetics happens through the people we spend time with. And I'd love to know what happens with the fascia based on the fascia. How is my fascia shifting right now? Probably because yours is so great. Mine's changing.
I'm giving you the message.
Must be
again,
occurring.
there's no studies for that. But again, kind of going back to Joe Dispenza's work, I love people who are studying vibration, because the highest vibration that we can have, we used to think it was love and compassion, but it's alignment. And so think about alignment. That is acceptance of your truth, right? You with self-acceptance of truth, and the people around you accepting your truth. That is like nitrox for that. And so I just look at community, and I have to be that. It has got to be the highest vibration, and that's why it is so healing, and that's why it is so good. But that's something for me, being a traditional American, being super annoyed by my neighbors all many years, being stalked, being, I don't want to say famous, but Instagram famous, and all the toxic messaging and haters and all that kind of stuff. It makes you where you're like, I'll get a community one day, but it's been the missing piece for me personally. And, I can't, most people at 53 would be, oh man, shit, I got to hold it together till 60. And then I'm the total opposite. I look at how much I've changed over the last 7 years. I'm talking about from a physical health standpoint, and what is the next 7 years going to look like with community and so much broader scope knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I'll just acknowledge you and commend you for showing up in this community, seeing you at Ecstatic Dance for the past year, at the Serve, in community with people, having gatherings at this house often, the adventure experiences we have, that is one of the greatest medicines that I've ever experienced. And it's something that money can't buy, right? You can't just buy a community. It's not authentic. Like you said, it's not in alignment. Right. And the fact that, you have everything money can buy, and you lean into being vulnerable, real, and authentic with community is so damn special.
Yeah.
And really beautiful to
It's
see.
huge. And what I would say to people who feel kind of guarded from community, I have a 24-year-old son he's now moved into my guest house, Luke, God love him. And he was like, well, you're not going to bring me down there and turn me into a hippie, and now the layers are peeling back a little bit, but it's we have that preconceived notion that if 2 men hug, they're hippies, or if I know for me with the women here, at any moment we could break out into a pillow fight. That's how vulnerable and intimate it is. And my son was basically, aren't you worried about people using you? And but somebody really can't use you if you don't, if you have your strong boundaries and all that type of stuff. And what I have found is just the more open, the more I radiate the light, the more I'm high vibrational, the more I'm in alignment with my crazy self. All the people just come, and it's that energy mixes, and it is healing. It is healing. I will tell you, I physically feel better than I have in I can't remember.
Yeah, and it's amazing that we have, biomarkers, Function Health is the one that I use, but there's ways that we can see this, our biological age actually drop from these markers. We feel it.
I mean, for me, I grew telomeres. I literally grew telomeres. You can't argue that. you know? And I don't feel I'm anywhere near midlife. Like, that's a joke. I'm hoping like 70 might be midlife.
Yeah.
You know, and more, I think there's a lot of people down here that feel that way, and it's not we're all smoking the same thing. It's that you come to it, it's not Costa Rica. It's that we all sort of found this way here because we all wanted to ascend in some way. And if you have higher consciousness, the body follows that. It just does. And the whole exercising 8 hours a day, I can imagine being a normie out there and being, are they crazy that they exercise 8 hours a day? I bet I exercise 8 hours a day.
Because you're constant.
I'm just constantly moving. I'm constantly doing something. And my workouts, I love them. I'm so excited to do my workout. And then I'm like, oh, I got my workout, but I didn't get my surf, you know, and then you end up at the surf, and then it's, oh, did you know the so-and-so is playing music? And so then playing drums becomes twerking, and, you know, it's just, that's what I want. Yeah. That's what I want for my retirement, too.
Exactly. Well, I mean, some of the things when you're talking about with traveling and how much we move and how active we are, it makes me think of Michael Easter's book, The Comfort Crisis. And you know, these things feel good and we love doing them doesn't mean that they're not hard. Like, there's some hard shit that we do. Learning how to surf is hard. Yeah. You know, doing these workouts
I just got my ass rolled on Saturday.
It's hard, you know, and we show up for it. Yeah. And we have a damn good time doing the hard thing. Yeah. But even like you're saying, with travel, it's so often the comfort crisis and how he talks about it, you're part of the 2% if you don't take the escalator, for instance. 98% of people just take it because it's there and it's available. Yeah. But are you going to do that little thing that's harder now that makes life easier later? Yeah. And living that day to day is, of course, connected to your fascia.
100%.
Taking the time to fascia blast, connect to that. Taking the time to go into the sauna.
It's always crazy to me, Ryan, when somebody will be, oh, I don't have time to fascia blast, or, oh, it's so exhausting, or whatever. I cannot imagine removing that variable because it's so directly related to how good you feel. Even if it didn't smooth skin, even if it didn't open your joints, all the things that it actually does do, reduce inflammation, and grow your telomeres. Even if it didn't do that, just the way you feel, the way that you feel when you do it. I can't, I have a hard time with that. That is a comfort mindset.
That excuse.
Yeah.
Introducing NeXcia, which is now the automated version of, seriously, like, this is a game changer, because even for me, I do the fascia blasting. I don't do it every day, but I do it and I love doing it. But then when you said this thing was coming out.
Tell the truth. Do you blast your balls?
No, I don't. Can I blast them? You never told me I could do this.
You just pull them up and get right on under there.
Well, that would make sense actually with the perineum. Like a perineum.
Yeah. What do you think the perineum is?
Yeah,
the perineum is fascia.
I do perineum massaging. I bet 99% of men have never felt their perineum, or people, honestly. It's something.
I talk about this too, and I'm actually inventing the smaller NeXcia for the face and to go vaginally and anally. It's so important to regenerate all of that tissue, you know.
I mean, it's so true. Yeah, I'll speak for the men.
I'm definitely going into the poo nanny care. I'm going to sun it. I'm going to blast it.
We need it. There's so much neglect and disconnection from that space authentically, because you usually go to that space for a quick outcome.
That's
You're just like, okay, I want an experience. I'm going to get it. It's not just, let me just connect. Let me feel. Let me open. Let me see.
Not only this is our fundamental root chakra.
That's the root.
Yeah. So I'm big on all the things, what you're saying. And definitely blasting. I mean, think about that. You're moving that energy. And also, the perineum is fascia. It's our most inner lining of fascia. It's the deepest layer of fascia.
Yeah. I mean, the electric
So I don't know if I would use these on your balls.
Like the face on that, like, two-prong?
Yeah, the little two-prong or the single claw. You know, that's why some of them are this small. That's why some of them are a big bar with a big claw to get into the deep tissue. I think anyone that starts to do this as a practice would end up with all the tools eventually. Yeah. And then the NeXcia just automates it. And I will tell you, for me, it has made it to where I do it more. It doesn't negate doing these sometimes, but man, it's really nice to just let the motor do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that's lazy. I feel sometimes I can get a little more into the visualization and sort of more that spiritual side without the physical having to, scrub it. And
it's more like the receivership you would be if you were getting it from a therapist. But
That's
it's like
right.
you just get to kind of be in the trance of it
That's
and
right.
feel
That's
all
a
of it
great
more.
way to describe it, Ryan. It's getting
Yeah.
into a trance.
Yeah.
I think you've done it. Were we in the sauna with the NeXcia?
Yeah.
We were testing it to see if the plastic and whatever the stuff is made of would survive,
great.
and it did. But yeah, when you can just, put it on your calf and just hold it and just picture that energy swirling and all of this and
Even
that.
just that intentionality, right? Even just that of I'm going to connect to a portion of my body, breathe into that space, and see what comes up.
That's right.
That spaciousness to connect in, because meditation, being in stillness, doing nothing, is hard for most people. But that's a way that you can meditate through the
Oh, it's
body,
100% a
through the
meditative
tissue, in the
practice,
fascia. Yeah. But not the stagnant, nothingness, which is an extreme for most people. But this is an action-oriented nothingness and connecting to it.
I always feel, there's scientists that they're going to dive way deep into this, and that's great. They're the scientists. Go do your thing. Okay, here's 20 NeXcias. Go study it. Love you.
Yeah.
I feel like for me that I was given the gift to take something very, very ethereal and very woo-woo, if you will, and also very complicated, and just bring it to the mainstream. And I feel NeXcia is going to do that, because you don't need any explanation. It's here, come here and let me rub your back, or use this on your shoulder and you're going to feel better. The person will get the benefit whether they believe a damn thing or not. Their fascia will remodel, and these channels will be open.
Yeah. Belief definitely supports it, I would say. The power of belief,
Sure.
no, but you could just do the thing.
Yep.
And thank you so much for showing me fascia in a whole different light as a somatic practitioner and somebody who works with bodies to understand fascia, not just in an intellectual sense, but in an embodied sense, because you don't just teach it, you are it. And so we, right after this episode, like we're about like a couple more minutes, and then we're going to go let's do a sauna session and do it and actually feel it and go into it. And that spaciousness in myself allows me to be a better practitioner, allows me to show up for people, allows me to show up for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for my clients.
Well, and, I can imagine that, whatever you're doing in your sessions, you're going to be, where do you feel that?
Of course.
And if they literally are in the heart space, for instance, you literally can pick up the fascia blaster.
Because we usually do tapping and these little
Shake
cues.
that shit out.
Yeah.
It's
so true.
Yeah, it's better than tapping. And again, going back into the nature of the muscle fibers, they're all surrounded by fascia, each individual one. I describe it, usually I have my pack of red straws with the wrappers, the clear wrappers.
Yeah.
That's what a muscle looks right? So these claws go down into those liquid crystal fibers to help release. I think it's super powerful. I think anybody who does somatic practice should have a few of these sitting next to the table and ready to help get that out of there.
Every person should have fascia blasters, for sure.
I mean, for me, a lot of having the inexpensive tools, it's a one-time thing. Most of the tools are, and it lasts for life, and it's so powerful. But for me, it was a lot about democratizing access. Because I was doing this, I went from a pretty nice career to the pits of hell of trying to launch a product. But, I'm flying around on private jets and being flown into movie, to work on actors, and everybody loved me, and it was great. But that was the opposite of democratizing this type of care. And so for me, about around 2014, I was okay. Going to give that up, because I'm here to change the world, not to, hang around with celebrities.
Well, and you're really, that was important for a portion of the journey, to let it be seen at a large level. But now you're really bringing the tools so people can be their own healers.
That's right.
Which is the future of health. So we're not relying on a person or a thing to get us there. Unless it's our community, we can lean into them for sure. But being our own healer and having the tools, having the wisdom, having the embodiment ourselves, which is what this podcast is about. Yeah,
I can tell you, for me, people would be, what is this really about for you? And this was years and years ago, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I want somebody to wake up with knee pain and go, oh man, I'm going to go fascia blast, I'm going to stretch, I'm going to ice it, instead of doing nothing and going to the orthopedic surgeon listen, if we do a scan, you're going to find something. I don't care if you have anything wrong with you or not, you're going to find something, or for me, oh my God, that was a stressful call. Let me go take care of myself. Sauna, blast my head, get that energy going, energy machine, hop in the cold plunge. Oh, problem gone. And it breaks my heart to think about, number one, people as crippled as I was that are just, I very easily could be the person fully addicted to painkillers and probably dead by now. Yeah, people need that vehicle. If all of us care about consciousness of the planet, which is what relates to like saving the planet and all the other big issues that we have, we can't do that when we're in pain. We can't do that when we're holding traumas and having to process those every day. That's exhausting. So for me, fascia blasting is a way to sort of release the shackles of this physical constriction inside the body.
Yeah. Well, the work you're doing is absolutely incredible. I know you have so many free resources on your website, online. There's so many things that people can connect to get fascia blasters, to utilize them.
Yeah.
And
actually, the easiest thing is I have an app called the Fascia app.
There you go.
And it's free. Go download it, and you can buy tools, you can find practitioners, you can see all the blogs. It's got tutorials by body part, tutorials by each individual tool, pre-sale for the next, but I feel, when people they want to know everything about fascia blasting, this is experiential learning. It's just meditation or a somatic practice. You will learn the next thing, just like we were talking about the video game earlier, when you take the next step.
Yeah.
And then you're, oh, I felt that. What was that? Okay, next thing. So with fascia blasting, people are, what's the best tool? The best tool is any tool that you pick up and use. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Any tool.
Well, we'll drop all the resources and links in the description. And you're also going to give us a tool at the end of this. After, there'll be a separate mini episode if you don't have a fascia blaster, which is awesome because I know you love to.
Yeah,
give
and we can do a
codes.
special code for the viewers. We can do a
amazing.
30% off or something like that.
Perfect. Okay,
We
cool.
didn't talk about that beforehand.
Yeah, awesome. Great.
But it's no problem. We can do that for all the viewers,
Amazing.
particularly if it's difficult in Costa Rica, but in America, where I think a lot of your viewership is, we have distribution everywhere.
Okay, cool. We'll drop that in the description as well. And like I said, you'll give us a 5-minute practice for your morning routine to connect to your fascia, even if you don't have the tool.
Yeah.
Which would be
There's
beautiful.
other things you can do to your fascia. Like I said, if you want to remodel your fascia, get a tool. But if you just want to wake it up, you want to stretch it, you want to get the fluids flowing, there's things that you can do with your hands or things that you can do just by moving your body. So we can do a little freebie.
Love it. And then the closing tradition in the podcast is the final question. For you, what does it mean to be a whole human?
God, Ryan, it's such a loaded question. I think for me to really answer that is that I want to be the human animal physically, and then the modern spiritualist in the ethereal realm. And I think it's, combining all of that together. So if we look at our ancestors' practice, they're looking at the stars for hours, they're walking on the ground, with the whole foods, all of that kind of stuff. But then how do we take that as a really good, clean slate to then ascend? And that's where we can even get into modern technologies, including fascia blasting and all of these other things. I think that we are meant to ascend out of human animal, but we just have gone in a direction. So for me, it's everything. When people ask me, what do you do for your, or, oh gosh, you look so young. I'm like, oh honey, sit down. But get a scroll, because it's everything. It's every intention in every single thing that I do every single day. That to me is what a whole human is having your entire life be high vibrational intentionally.
Yeah, and I see you lead that way. I see you embody that. And even what you're saying could sound complicated to some, but I know you don't make it complicated. You make it really fucking simple.
Love your life. Love your life. Live your truth. Get rid of all the impurities, anything toxic, from people to I always talk about the smelly candles because that was a hard thing to give up. I love a good Yankee candle. But yeah, it really is everything. And it didn't happen overnight, you know. So I know a lot of the people watch the podcast, and it probably does. I just wanted a drink of water and I got a fire hose to the face. It's a little bit at a time. Start to peel back those layers. Just focus on being happy, being in your body, being in your space, being in your community, being intentional. You know, don't jump in the river and just, you know, get swept away. Be very intentional about what you do, and you'll turn around in a year, 2, 3, 10, whatever, and be, oh my God, I'm a completely different person. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's what your whole podcast is about, is encouraging people to start to take those steps. So I congratulate you.
There we go. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. Thanks for hopping on. I imagine we'll do more episodes in the future because we're just
I know. I feel like
so
we
many
just
pathways.
Scratch the surface, and I
So
love
good.
to talk about things beyond fascia, you know. But fascia is just my professional field, and I do think it's a giant missing hole. So I applaud you for bringing this to the forefront. I can't wait to chop this video up and put it out to my audience, and hopefully we'll go viral. Hey,
Let's do it. Thank you so much, Ashley. Love you. Thanks for coming on. So
Of
good.
course.
Stay whole.
Stay whole, everybody.
Yeah.